Going into our discussion for today, of course, we gave you a teaser earlier with regards to the Trumps being elected now as a president-elect of the United States of America. Indeed, he's making a return after he lost that election 4 years ago to the current President Joe Biden. And of course, he's back again with his American First policy, and the whole world is indeed waiting to see which areas he's going to prioritize. Of course, don't forget, in his first term as president, he did prioritize domestic energy production, tariff on import, and of course, he did push for low interest rates. Is he going to do the same on his return as President of the United States? Let me bring on one of my guests. Aliyu Ilias is an economist. He joins me via phone from Abuja. Hey, good morning, Aliyu.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, let me quickly get your reaction to Trump being elected as the President of America. Of course, you know his policies are indeed usually the American first. What do you make of his election?
Right, I think Americans want Donald Trump, and they have voted for Donald Trump. But for the global community, we need to live with Trump for the next 4 years. As we know that Trump has his own way of doing things, especially Americans first. But as Nigeria, we must look at the first thing, which is very, very critical. First and foremost is our trade policy. You know, he has his own way of dealing with people when it comes to trade policy. Since he said Americans first, he might have to deny other people, other countries rather, for him to benefit of American first. You recall that even those times there was some international community that actually priced his policy was so high. So that's one of the things. In terms of foreign direct investment, you know, Nigeria is hoping that we'll get more foreign direct investment from America. It might not come as expected because you may not look at what is actually benefiting before you now do that. Then the next is the issue of the oil. Remember that America as a country is an oil producing country but does not join OPEC. So his operation may affect the son of OPEC because OPEC may want to do the benchmark. But if you look at what America is offering, it might be a challenge to it. Then the last one I also want to look at for I stop at this point in time is the issue of the diaspora remittance. You know, Nigerians, if you look at about 2 months, we celebrate a lot of diaspora remittance, which helps our foreign. It may not be so if Trump is this one in simply because if he chooses the idea of Americans first, he might tell them to invest most of their money in America and the check missing what is actually going out of America. So these are the things that we may have to deal with during this Trump 4 years administration.
Indeed. So what you're saying is that the Donald Trump president is going to have a very sweeping implication for Nigeria's economy. A lot of people are beginning to say there's going to be a stronger dollar, and that means, of course, Naira will weaken further. Of course, potential capital outflows from the U.S. is going to be very low, and of course, you know that Donald Trump doesn't value the idea of having a high prices of global oil prices. So is coming up with a policy that the rest of the world may not indeed be happy with.
Well, another way around, you know, that's negative and it has positive impact too. The positive impact may be in terms of the global war. You know, global war is also affecting trade. Generally, you may find a way to reduce the global war. It also has its own idea of American first having opportunity. Maybe most Nigerians who may think to go abroad to do something, they might think of investing in Nigeria as well. So it has both positive and negative. But don't blame him. He knows how to manage his people. He has got his people mandate, and there's nothing that will stop him from actually performing for them. It's only for us at home to actually adjust. Since we are having our next budget coming up, and I'm sure we are in the preparation of it, we must factor and our benchmark must consider the possible challenges that the Trump administration will give Nigeria and Africa.
So, in this regard, what do you think Nigeria should begin to do at this point in time for us to be able to, you know, stand properly or stand in a way that we can actually benefit from Trump presidency?
Right, we must start solving our structural problem because our major problem now is forex. And with Trump, I don't think we can actually get out of it with ease. It might be much more difficult. We must look at those critical things that are affecting our forex, and that's why we must make sure we work on the supply side of it. I think this is an opportunity for Nigerians also to start dealing with China in terms of currency. You recall that most Nigerians want to go to China to buy, but they still have to wait $2. But if we can deal with yuan, Chinese currency, that would have, reached down the impact of dollar on the Nigerian economy. So that is very, very critical. Now, as I said earlier, we are also at the process of making our budget. We must factor our benchmark, which is in consideration of what will likely happen going forward with Trump.
What about the issue of immigration? Trump did believe about, immigration restriction as well. Of course, a lot of people say that may limit the outflow of foreign direct investment.
Well, I want to say immigration issue. I think for me, as an individual, I don't have issue with Trump trying to make it adopt the way of people come into his country. We must start looking inward. We must make Africa to be a Dorado as well. If we can really do AFCT agreement very well, we can stand that. We may not even see the impact because we can easily mix it among ourselves. And for him to say American first in terms of maybe we don't allow immigrants to come into the country, I think it's their country decision. So I don't know. Even now, that is even much more easier. How much does it cost to actually go into America? That's another question.
Do you think this shift in geopolitical game may indeed reduce U.S. support for Nigeria economic development?
Right. It's clear that if you look at our trade policy, that is the major thing we need to do, and that's why we must rejig. What are we actually exporting? But then what are they actually bringing to the country? We are the deficit side, but even the little we are benefiting. He might decide to change our focus to trade with other in the place of Nigeria, and that's where we should work more on. And that's why we must continue to look for alternatives. Since China has surpassed America in terms of doing trade with them, we must also find a way to trade with China more, because that's an alternative that we have.
Indeed, there's now Nigeria's policymaker at this point now. A lot of people are saying we need to begin to consider alternative strategies such as fostering regional trade, increasing non-oil export, and of course pursuing structural reform to counterbalance the potential challenges that the Trump presidency may bring.
Well, for me, I do not see too much of negative from Trump policy. I only see Trump making other countries to discover themselves and do better for themselves, because if you want to rely on foreign decisions to actually make your economy grow, it becomes a serious problem. So we must, at this point in time, through our legislature and through our executive, look inward furthermore, especially on our natural resources, especially mining. Since we have Ministry for Mining now, to look at alternatives and make sure we diversify, because if we can diversify, they will need us more and you will have to buy for more. So we must make sure we are irresistible for them and we take advantage of our comparative advantage.
Indeed, Aliyu Ilias, hold your thought there. Let me bring in Muktar Mohammed, a financial analyst, into the conversation. Hello, Muktar. Good morning. It's good to have you on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me, Yusuf.
All right. We're talking about Trump presidency. He's back again, and of course, a lot of people are saying that his policies may have a sweeping implication on Nigerian economy. What do you make of that?
I think we sometimes forget so much, and we follow the media hype, and we forget what Trump has done for Nigeria. I remember during the time of the war on terrorism, Barack Obama refused to sell fighter jets to Nigeria and blocked every ally that wanted to sell that fighter. Was the first person when he came to power. He sold those fighters to fight terrorism. So we can't just say he's not a brother of Nigeria. But you also have to understand that Donald Trump policy is American first before any other country. So a situation whereby people think that the coming of Donald Trump is spending doom for Nigeria, I don't think so. I think it depends. He doesn't think America should be the big brother of the world. He also thinks that America needs. So if you have to do it, it has to be symbiotic type of relationship, not parasitic, where America is giving you all the help and you don't have anything to. Trump presidency, American first, then others can follow.
Indeed, a lot of people are saying that we should expect a stronger dollar. Of course, a stronger dollar. What it means is that naira is going to. I mean, we expect naira to fall further. Of course, a lot of people are also talking about the potential capital outflow from the U.S. That is going to reduce, which will indeed affect our diaspora remittances.
Well, it depends. I totally agree with you. We'll have a stronger dollar, like I said. We see a lot of policy that is driven towards American businesses in America. And so once you are a foreign business like the Chinese, the Japanese, America, they will have tariff on some of their items just to make them less competitive with the American counterpart. No, but outside of that, again, what the Trump policy does also is to make sure that there is a low oil price, sorry. So and that will affect our oil revenue to affect us. But on the short term and on the long term, the good news is that we have local production, which is we have a local refining production now with Aliyu Dangote. We'll be looking at NNPC one day. The refinery will start working. So in terms of local production, that will be good because we might see price come down because a lower crude price also mean a lower petroleum price in Nigeria, especially with the naira to dollar swap deal. So it depends on where we are. But I think I totally agree with you. There'll be a stronger dollar, but again, oil price going to come down. So we'll see it badly. But again, that will be a time for us to diversify the economy and also look at ways to improve our local production of refined petroleum products so that it won't have so much negative impact on our exchange rate and also high cost of living. But you talk about capital area. I think that already started before Trump came in. So it might be worse because again that has to do with the frontier market. Like I keep saying, up to this moment we are not listed in the frontier market, and that means that the investors doesn't really see Nigeria. And when you want to come into a market like Nigeria, which is a frontier market, try to look at the frontier index to see. So we are not there. So definitely a lot of outflow has not been coming to us. So a prompt presidency is not the one that will stop that outflow. But I think you see a lot of the investors may remain local rather than coming to other countries.
Indeed, you made mention about low oil prices, Muktar. Low oil prices also means a reduced revenue from oil for Nigerian government. What do you think we should do? You talk about diversification, which is the song we've been singing for a very long time, and it doesn't seem to be, in any way yielding any positive result. What do you think we should do with it? At least some of the things we should do now before we're being taken by surprise.
I think diversification is key. When you talk about diversification, I keep saying you cannot diversify, rather you use your main stream of income to diversify into other stream of income. And so definitely we still need the oil money to diversify into other sector like every other oil economy as I've done before now. So definitely we're not talking of diversifying to every agricultural product, your competitive advantage, and then you diversify into those areas and become a brand in those areas. Just like when you talk cocoa, you talk of Ghana, you talk of Kuduba, now you even talk of Cameroon. So those are type of, so if you want to be, we have the best brand of cassava. When you talk of cassava, that can cure a lot. You can just talk of Nigeria, and so that could also help us. But like I said, diversification itself is not cheap. So definitely you need a lot of funding to diversify. That is one. Second, like I said, it will help local production of food. We won't need to be exporting so much outside. And then once we are able to meet the demands here in Nigeria, once we are not importing so much in, that would reduce the FX pressure, and that also will bring liquidity into the system and drive down the exchange rate. So that could be a positive for us. So that means goods that come into Nigeria will be cheaper than what is obtained now. That will happen. But again, you also know that we have the large depots of renewable energy. And that when we talk about renewable, we talk about clean energy. So it's time for us to also to begin to see how we can use clean energy, because that might not be affected each presidency that has to deal with refined petroleum or crude oil. So we're a good stand. We have to do the work, be able to enjoy that good stand that I feel that we are with the Trump presidency.
Indeed. Let's talk about the Federal Reserve now. Trump believes in low interest rates. And of course, you recall in 2018, he did the rate peaked at 2.5% before he reduced it to almost zero before he left. Are we going to see a repeat of that in this presidency?
Well, people should understand that it's not Trump that fixed the rate, and the governor of the Bank of Reserve in the United States refused. So it's not now they already have enjoying a low rate, so it could get lower with Trump coming in because a lot of people voted for economic policy because they believe that he has the right economic policy to move them out of the level where they are, especially high inflationary pressure, high cost of living. That's why it's being brought there. And one of the things that we have low oil price with the Trump presidency, and it makes sure that America do not import so much refined petroleum product, rather begin to open up some of their oil well and then do refined product to America there to make it cheaper. So definitely we have to come down in America because inflation is practically 0% at the moment. So I don't think it's about Donald Trump reducing rate. It's about the policy that have been put in there. And also this policy help bring down rate. And when it's time to cut the rate, yes, he likes rate cut as a businessman. That helps small businesses, cost of funds will be low. So that's the whole idea he looks at, that, okay, let's have a stronger economy so we can get low rate and then we can also expand smaller businesses. So I think that's what it means. Doesn't mean that the Donald Trump presidency is all about rate. He's not the one in charge of rate cut. America have an independent Federal Reserve that will make the decision on rate cuts by the data that they have. Donald Trump can only appeal to them that said, oh, we prefer a low rate. And that's what he did the last time. Exactly. And even with that, it was not supported by them at that time until maybe a year for his leaving, then they brought down the rate.
Indeed. Of course, Muktar, you cannot underestimate the influence of presidency in terms of management of monetary policy as well. Let me bring in Aliyu Ilias now. Aliyu Ilias, let me ask you the same question with regards to interest rates. Of course, we're looking at the low rate in America, and of course in Nigeria, ours now is a very high. Do you see we in any way borrowing any leave from America, especially with Donald Trump coming in as president?
But you agree with me that any president have impact on the rate of interest rate because America do have a system that will work for them. It's not about who become the president, but the president, recall, also can appoint whoever takes the lead. In the issue of Yemika Doso in Nigeria, you agree with me that it's a single decision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and because he decided to put Yemika Doso, that's the result of what we are also saying. So sometimes presidents also have impact on what happens to the economy, because when you have people, the right people at the helm of affairs, it tends to work well. He believe that Yemika Doso is the one to stop the problem. You agree with me that since about a year plus now, Yemika Doso have come with over 35 policy framework that really make sure the interest came down. Interest rate, inflation comes down. But up to now, we do see it, and you see the way it's also increasing the interest rate. So it depends. So, and that's why we always want to have a robust system that can actually help. So for me, I think Donald Trump, like we know him, is a businessman who wants things to get smooth, and personally even prefer American first. I also want every thing about the economy to do fine. I think we should take it from American system.
Indeed. Aliyu, still staying with you, people said U.S. is one of Nigeria's top trading partners. As at the first half of the year, we have traded about 2.2 trillion naira in terms of import and 2.8 trillion naira in terms of export in the first half. Of course, people are saying that a U.S.-led increase, price increase, could influence Nigerian inflation, and of course, things may, price may begin to move up as well.
Right. I think from the things now, I think China is taking the lead in terms of trading, and that's when we start to see into, because with Trump now, we don't know what will happen about trade policy. But if we can also do with other companies and also have a competitive advantage or competitive advantage, and like Mr. said, we have Dangote now, which is a major industry that could help us set the forex, reduce our importation, and give us a lot of help. So I think we should look inward and make sure we support those organizations that need to be supported so that we can have a trade balance. And that's why I have issues with Nigeria. Mostly we focus on monetary policy and fiscal policy, and we don't care about trade policy. Trade policy has a lot of impact about what we are doing discussing. So we must rethink our trade policy, and we must do more to make sure that we have a balance of trade, a balance of payment, at least to an extent. I think that will help the economy.
And indeed, don't forget, we also recorded a trade surplus there with the U.S. I'm talking about the import now, 1.9 trillion naira, and of course, export 3.1 trillion naira in the first half of 2024. Are we likely going to see a decline in all of these moves, or in all of these gains that Nigeria achieved in the first half of 2024?
Well, we may not see that happening quickly. We will not see that happen quickly. It will still be carry over time. It depends on our disposition to what's actually happening. And then depends on the trade decrease and trade policy that Trump actually comes. What is obtainable in the first 4 years will not be obtainable because the world has moved and depends on our trade advantage as it were.
All right. Mr. Muktar, if you can hear me, do you think if Trump policies discourage U.S. import from Nigeria, do you think this affecting now Nigeria export earnings?
Of course it will, but again, you must ask how many products do we really export. So it's more or less whether the strong policy will affect import from the United States to Nigeria, not necessarily mean export, because if you look at volume of businesses with a lot of countries, you realize that our volume of business with the United States has drastically come down. We do more business with Chinese and European than with the United States. So I don't think that is going to be a big issue because we are really not doing so much business with them. But the only side we see a lot of business between Nigeria and them and America is in the area of used cars, and those used cars normally comes from Japan. The Japanese cars that are have issues, then they are shipped here by Nigerian businessmen to be sold. But those cars now will be a little bit expensive, even despite the challenges that we are having now because of the high that you put on any item that's coming from Asia, especially into America. So definitely, I think it's a policy that has been there, so it will be a major problem because we don't really export so much.
Indeed, what we export mostly is oil, and of course we are expecting the price of oil to get lower under Donald Trump, which indeed you made mention that is going to be more like a red flag for Nigeria. Of course, we need to see how we can begin to diversify the economy and, of course, make revenue from other sources. But I did ask earlier, diversification has not really been working for Nigeria because we have issue with in the area of having steady power supply and all of that. But this government is aggressively trying to, reform the tax system to make it more effective. Do you see that as a way to raise revenue? Muktar, if you can hear me. Okay, Aliyu Ilias, if you can respond. All right, go ahead, Muktar.
This government is a revenue-driven, and so I won't be surprised if that is what they do. We've seen that already with the power that you're talking about, and then even if a lot of people do not support the policy, they've gone ahead and done it. So Band A normally get like more than any other band what they are paying before. So I'm not surprised that if the diversification it means a higher cost, because that is what this government has made it to look like. Anytime they are trying to give it not solving the challenge, they will say it's because of the people are not paying the right price. So I think it's neither here nor there.
It's a case of government having more money at the expense of Nigeria living in a very difficult condition.
Of course, that has been the issue, Yusuf. It's not today. We have more money, but definitely more money is supposed to build infrastructure that will end up getting more money to the people. But unfortunately, that has not been the case because, again, you know what it is. Sometimes some of these projects are not completely executed. And some of these funds, when they come in because of the corruption in the system, don't seem to get to the common man on the street. So that's for me. Ordinarily, more money for government should be for the people. Then that will also be more businesses coming up with infrastructure that has been a challenge, and that will create employment. But unfortunately, that's not what is obtained in Nigeria because of corruption.
Indeed. Aliyu Ilias, if you can hear me, let's also talk about this issue of tax that government is really, embarking upon. There seems to be so much interest with regards to tax reform. We see the bill there was initially rejected by the Northern Governors Forum, and of course the presidency did say that they should allow the bills to go through the normal legislative process. Do you see this as a way to salvage the country from, collapsing in terms of our failure to achieve economic diversification?
Right. It's quite clear that this government wants much more revenue, but nevertheless, the decision to work on the tax reform, I think it's overdue. Don't overdo to work on tax reform. But you ask me, the four bills that we are proposing, are they all in line? Yes. To an extent, I will agree with them because I think sometimes actually look at the bill very well. The bill meant well for small business, whereby if you are doing business less than 25 million naira, you could be exempted in some taxes, and they are also earning the income that's the minimum wage. You're also going to be exempted from personal income tax. However, the issue of consumption tax and manufacturing tax that is being debated by the northern, not northern, I think it's the northern state government, because I could see the governor of the of Oyo State came out and said yes, they should reverse the bill. I've also heard from other governors. I think governors are looking inward on their own revenue side because it's not actually fair enough. Every other company will work in every other operation will happen in every other state, but the return will go to the headquarters, which could be doing only paperwork. So I think it does go back and do that. But the president said they should be subject to public hearing. I think that is the best thing because in the public hearing, governor can send their own team, and also people general public can also go there to argue further on what is best. But I assure you, President Tinubu will not want us to talk to people, but will definitely react.
Indeed. Mr. Muktar, before I let you go, I want to get this clarification with regards to Oando half-year report. A lot of people are saying that the company made about 626 billion naira in terms of profit, while others are saying it's just 62 billion naira. Can you clarify that for us?
I think it's just 62 billion profit after tax. What you saw was the total profit, but after losses that were incurred, the only reason why you see that 62 billion is as a result of FX gain, FX revaluation gain. That's why. So definitely, Oando made 60.2 billion in terms of profit after tax, and also you also know that they are coming from a place of loss. So when you look at that profit, yeah, that's the profit. But when you remove cost of funding and other things, and that's why it went as low as what it is. So it's not that the only thing that people will say that Oando is out of the wood in terms of profitability, but it didn't make all that profit because yes, that was the cost in terms of cost of sale. But in terms of profit, it was lower than what they are saying.
All right. Muktar Mohammed, financial analyst, I must thank you for your time on Business Daily today. We appreciate your contribution.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Aliyu Ilias, an economist, joining me from Abuja here. Also, I must thank you too for your contribution on Business Daily.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And with that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.